Tracking extreme fire danger this weekend, I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. This, along with the extended and prolonged heat wave that we've been dealing with throughout Northern California. First, talking about this fire weather alert, you can see we've got the red flag warning in effect for parts of the Yosemite Valley, as well as the higher elevations. That fire weather watch, that'll be in play late Friday through Saturday and through parts of Sunday, most of all because of abundant lightning potential, gusty winds, and low humidity. This is all coming as we start to see a surge of moisture trying to pump its way through the Sierra with the potential for lightning. So the significant fire potential really amplified on Saturday. We'll still have that slight risk as well throughout the valley. We'll take a look at the energy release component. First, focusing on the northern Sierra, where we have some of those elevated alerts here. You can see our current ERC is starting to move into that extreme burn potential. We had been kind of hovering in that large fires likely and neutral category until we got to the latest in the stretch of heat, and that really started to dry out all the fuels in the Sierra. Even after we had that late pulse of some moisture moving through in May, now most of that is gone. The heat evaporating a lot of the moisture in the fuel up there. As far as the valley conditions, these have continued to stay pretty much status quo, especially by the beginning of July. Once we started to add the heat to it, we're in that extreme burn potential, but we've kind of been floating right around the large fires likely and the extreme burn potential for a couple of weeks now. We've seen several grass fires burning in parts of the lower elevation. But now we're starting to add the Sierra, and that has the potential to have these huge mega fires that blossom in the Sierra. And that's why this is such a critical time to start really focusing on the potential for this dry lightning and very high fire danger late Friday through Sunday evening as we start to track the potential for those showers and thunderstorms. But the key factor here is what you'll notice is that Saturday morning we'll see occasional cloud cover drift through the valley. We're still dry for the Sierra, but it's going to be very isolated showers in the Sierra. We could still see the lightning, though. This is not going to depict the areas that have the potential for lightning. That will be all throughout the Sierra spine, thus elevating that fire danger. If a spark were to start from lightning, it could spread very quickly with the outflow winds coming from those thunderstorms. You can see in the areas shaded in the red and magenta, we really have a couple of focus areas here. A little bit of a spark, some wind, and those can spread rather quickly, especially given that the last couple of years haven't been especially problematic with just large mega fires. So there's a lot of fuel up there, especially with 2 wet years. This is a look at our fire season comparison. This is just as of July 9th. These numbers have since gone up since then, but year to date was about 200,000 acres burned with about 3,500 fires. That is well above last year's pace and even the 5-year average pace of what we usually see in terms of total acreage burned. So preventing a spark, keep these things in mind, not mowing dry grass, mowing lawns, basically. Metal plus rocks equals sparks, plus big time for camping. Make sure those chains are secured if you are towing any type of vehicle or trailer behind your vehicle as you head up into the high country. This is all happening as we're still dealing with the extreme heat. Record high for downtown Sacramento today, 113. That breaks the old record of 110 set back in 1961. So again, some of the weather impact headlines that we'll be tracking: major heat risk through Saturday and the extreme fire danger into the weekend. Now, this has been a prolonged heat event for us. We've been dealing with temperatures on and off near 110 with heat illness risk continuing at least through Saturday, and that's also helping to bump up those red flag warning conditions. Our excessive heat warning, by the way, is now extended into Saturday evening throughout the entire valley and pushing towards the coastal valley area with possible records again tomorrow. After already seeing those records for today, Modesto tying the record for today. Along the coast, we've got our heat advisory in place through Saturday evening, as well as throughout the foothills. Very warm overnight lows, kind of hovering in the 80s. This is a look at our statistics. It is now the warmest 20 days on record. For June and July in downtown Sacramento, we are averaging our high out at 103.5 degrees. We started this stretch on June 22nd at 105, and when you compile 20 days straight, you can see some real outliers here. Last Saturday at 113, Today at 113. By the way, not an all-time record high for downtown Sacramento. We hit that in 2022 at 116 degrees. But this certainly stands out as the warmest stretch of heat that we've ever had to deal with. So tracking some of the other records for the downtown Sacramento area, our 110 plus degree stretch, we tied that with 2 days. That ties the record set back in 2022. The 105 degree plus stretch, we tied it for the third longest at 6 days. And then we tied for the third longest 100 plus degree stretch at 9 days. But again, we only had that break 1 day, and that was at 98 degrees. So it's been an incredibly oppressive stretch of 100s. And for the year, when we track that, we've had 9 days of 100s in June, the hottest being 105 degrees on June 22nd, and then 10 days for downtown Sacramento in July, the hottest 113, but we hit that twice. We hit it today and we hit it on July 6th for the holiday weekend. And now we've got the State Fair starting up on Friday. It's going to be a hot start, 88 degrees at 10 a.m. We'll be up to 107 at 2 p.m., hitting those afternoon highs between about 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'll be close to 110. By 9 p.m., we're down to 91. So it's really about planning to protect not only yourself, but your pets and everybody around you, and kind of keeping an eye on folks that maybe don't have access to adequate air conditioning and cooling. If you're headed up to do any camping, know the weather forecast, notify family and friends of your plans, plan an evacuation route and shelter, especially with red flag warnings and a fire weather watch in effect this weekend. Pack a safety kit and a weather radio. That can kind of keep you ahead of some of those dangerous situations, and you can evacuate before it becomes the point where you can't evacuate. Saturday, we're still dealing with some extreme pockets of heat risk. At this level, the long duration of extreme heat with little to no overnight relief affects everyone. And you can see that's really problematic throughout the foothills and parts of the central and northern part of the Sacramento Valley. After that, we do start to see a little bit of cooling, but I will say this, we're not going to cool considerably. We're still going to be kind of hovering right about at or even above average for the long range forecast. So our weather impact alert will go through Saturday. Heat's the main factor. Limiting time in the sun between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. can really help. I know the waterways are super popular right now, I being one of them that like to go out. Lake Natoma, water temperature out there was about, I actually did a swim today, about 64 degrees. And kind of knowing the threshold of how long you can tolerate that is really key. Not to mention, there was still a lot of debris out there. I saw a big log as I was swimming out there, and just a little brush and some grasses and some weeds and stuff. But the big logs, those in a river that actually has a pretty good flow, can impinge somebody and prevent somebody from getting out of those dangerous situations. So we've got the cold water, still some debris flowing through our rivers, just something to keep an eye out for. Sacramento River, 72 degrees. American River below Folsom, about 60. San Joaquin River, that's going to be way farther from some of the recent snowmelt, 85 degrees. Tuolumne at Lagrange, our cold spot at 56 degrees. Now, the Sierra and Foothill water is looking pretty good, 65 to 70, and our Lake Tahoe water temperature up to 70. Knowing the signs of heat illness, heat exhaustion is thirsty, dizzy, nausea, cool, clammy skin, and sweating a lot. Now, when we tick that up one notch, that's heat stroke. That is headache, red hot, dry skin, no sweating. Call 911 immediately. We talk about this as well. Too hot to trot. 5-second rule. Place the back of your hand on top of any sort of environment that you're going to be walking your pet. If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for them. Their little paws just can't take it. Very sensitive. So our major heat risk is going to continue. You can see Friday, we start the day off at 72 degrees at 5 a.m., sunrise at 5:52. Right after that, we start to warm pretty quickly here. 91 at 11 a.m. by 2 p.m., 107, 5 p.m., 110. And then we slowly start to tick away at that heat by the time we get to sunset, which is at 8:31. This time of year is really tough to deal with these heat stretches. I was just talking to a friend, and they said, you know, because of access to daylight being so long this time of year, it just feels extra tough to deal with it because you know you got a ways to go before sunset. So our average number of days with a high of 100 degrees. Take note of this: 23 days, 105, 6 days, 110, 1 day. How are we doing? Well, we are way ahead of pace for 110. We're at 3 days, and we're likely going to add one more day to that tomorrow. 105 days, we've seen 9, and 100s, we've seen 19 days. So we still have a lot of summer to go. High pressure ridge is going to continue to pump up that moisture Saturday into Sunday. That's the time frame that we're looking at here. Then it starts to move off to the east, but not completely out of sight for the long range forecast. Very likely warmer conditions through the middle and end of July, and you're going to see it in our 10-day forecast. Tomorrow will be right around 90 for this year. Again, tracking that chance for showers and thunderstorms mainly on Saturday. 100s through the foothills, but morning lows are starting off largely in the 80s. 70s along the coast. We get to inland areas and we're deep into the 100s. 100 stretch continues into our Friday forecast after morning lows close to 70. Chance of thunderstorms Saturday and Sunday in the mountains. For the foothills, we've got those 100s Friday, starting to cool over the weekend. But again, we start off Saturday at 83 degrees. And then for the coast, we're in the 70s for Friday, 60s as we head into the rest of that 5-day forecast. Our weather impact alert will continue through Saturday with highs in the 100s and that excessive heat warning in play. Then we hit a stretch of 90s through the rest of the 7-day forecast, but expanding into the 10-day forecast, we get into the 100s again Friday through the following weekend. So like I said, we still have a long summer to go, and we're going to keep you posted on all these developing weather situations on our ABC 10 app. We've got in-depth forecasts just like this, explainers and weather specials, plus our Emmy award-winning special, The Future of California's Water. Watch it for free on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV.